Cut out the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
Babbling like a fool sounds like President Biden. Say what you got to say. Love Mr. T. And that's exactly what this little discussion is about. It's about saying what you have to say. I have some troubling SHTF commentary for you this morning. 0 dark 30 blasting out of the bunker and people driving like total assholes in this direction. Wow. Now, what are we talking about? What's the topic of the day? Use it or lose it. The First Amendment. Like I said, alarming information. And I find this hard to believe that many Americans say the First Amendment goes too far in guaranteeing our rights. Now, I find that if it wasn't so disturbing, I find it utterly comical on a philosophical level. The unintelligent, uninformed, the uneducated, and the naivete of Americans is now acute. As if we didn't know that with all of the trans bullshit and people believing that men can get pregnant and that women are just the same thing as men. And well, there are no women because men can be women. And I mean, yeah, they have pushed the boundaries, the envelope of what is acceptable and normal. You want to talk about speech that should be stopped? How about speech that tells children to cut their genitals off? That's protected. Oh, you bet it is. But get this, yeah. They apparently did polls, and I'm going to tell you what, I do not believe this poll is accurate because people do not understand what it is they're even fucking talking about. This is where lack of education, right, dooms us. We are lost because my people are ignorant. According to this article I read, both 1/3 of Democrats and 1/3 of Republicans agree, not with one another, but they agree. They say that the First Amendment goes too far. It guarantees too well our rights. Now, I would agree and say, well, it guarantees our rights, but the problem is this right here. Let's start with the problem. You cannot count on a government or a people to know what is and is not acceptable to say, because there will always be undue influence from money and agenda that is contradictory to what other people would want and contradictory to the good senses of those who know better. But to allow the government the ability to give it the authority to police speech is obscene and insane. The Russian communists, the Russian socialists, murdered at least 35 million people, their own people, over what they believe. How do you know what someone believes? It is through their speech, their thoughts. Free speech is the right to express yourself. Free speech is the right to speak, to act, to paint, To walk, to move, even though, yes, walking is locomotion, it's another right. But you can through the movement of your body, the movement of your hands, the movement of your legs. That is a form of speech. You can demonstrate your disbelief in someone else's claims with your body language. It is a form of speech. We all know it, right? People speak with their hands. Anyways, they say it's gone too far. The First Amendment goes too far. We shouldn't have those kind of rights. No, we absolutely need those rights. So I went way back, 100 years plus, to give you communism. Now I'm going to go back 90 years. To Nazi Germany. And socialists there said no free speech. And they killed tens of millions of people around the world in their quest for insane government power. One of their tools? Silencing free speech, free expression, belief systems. If you want to know where I say the First Amendment goes too far in guaranteeing speech, is allowing Satanists to exist and communists to live in our country. I think it needs to be understood that anything that is anathema, anything that is anti-constitutional, anti-freedom, should be illegal by its very nature, the same way a criminal should be incarcerated for their crimes. I tell you, folks, they're getting into some dangerous fucking ground here. China, free speech, 1950s, Chairman Mao, People's Liberation Army murdering tens of millions. Unbelievable. No free speech or you get shot. Once you allow government any control over speech, they control all speech. Once they control speech, they control thought. When you can control thought, you control behavior. People are nothing more than slaves. Use your free speech now, folks. Use it or lose it. I can't believe that this fucking argument, this debate even occurred, that a poll even existed. That is how effective Democrat horse shit is. It's not what the people want or think. It's what the Constitution says about speech. And it's there for a philosophical reason. Philosophy, folks, is not some mundane art form where you sit around and just think interesting thoughts. Philosophy incorporates human behavior, political thought, psychological understanding, and much more. The philosophical basis for the Constitution, for the Declaration of Independence, created something that humans throughout history have never had to that degree. And that's the ability to be free, to be yourself, to express yourself, to live your life. Use it or lose it. Zelensky, the fucking love child of the US and NATO fucking Russia. That little punk is arresting people, silencing people, jailing people, confiscating their wealth because of free speech, shutting down churches, locking people up. Free speech. They don't like it because they don't want to be criticized. Speech is criticism when it disagrees with you. And rather than have a better argument, which is what free speech is about, they want to silence argument. Listen, folks, do you think that if Democrats had a legitimate and logical argument, that any critical mind, any thinking mind could examine and say, yeah, that is one hell of an argument. Can't go against that. Well, that's what happened in the 60s with the fucking hippies. The more conservative America back then said, hey, they have a First Amendment right. They're going to exercise it. You can't silence them, even though they're a bunch of stupid, stinking, smelly hippies. I'm not going to live in this world, folks. Not one where they silence you and then tell you you have to go cut your dick off and eat bugs and own nothing and be a slave for the government and give up your kids to be sex toys for Democrats. It's not my world, folks. The fight starts now. Whether you want to call it World War III, the apocalypse, Civil War II, American Revolution 5, it doesn't matter what you want to call it. The fight has started. And it starts with thinking and speaking. Stand up for yourself. Semper Fi, Godspeed.